Non-duality. See, uh, when we sometimes I've noticed that when we talk about meditation, there seems to be a subject and an object. So, for example, we may have us as a subject, and then we'll have the object could be a mantra, it could be so it could be a mantra, it could be a um we could be looking at light, we could be visualizing something. There's always a subject and an object. What about meditating in such a way where there is only meditation? So it's not that you have to do anything to meditate, but rather meditation occurs just by being. You just go back to the awareness that is aware of the object, and you realize that that awareness is the actual subject. Therefore, you kind of get rid of all the by. Basically, you bypass all the objects to get directly to the subject, and I think that is ultimately what meditation is about. So if you're on TikTok, join me on YouTube. Go on YouTube because I'll be mainly looking over there. Um, so yeah, I should actually have put that in the title, and I don't know if I can change the title to um um yeah, I don't think I can change the title to my live, but that's okay. Um, Let me see. Yeah, okay, no worries. Um, Yeah, doing rituals is a lot more fun. I agree. I think there is power in rituals. So a lot of people, again, there's a reason why I've also put non-duality on the subject here, because in non-duality we kind of feel that we don't have to do rituals, or we don't have to have anything else. Those things can be utilized, but remember, you have to keep going back to the subject. So I agree, it's more fun, but it's important to go back to the subject, to go back to awareness, to keep going back to it. But I agree. If you can utilize rituals and you remember that it is just, uh, a, a tool, then that's pretty good. But a lot of people, I find that when they do these rituals, they get stuck on them, and yeah, they get distracted. Yeah, exactly. They get attached to the ritual, and the ritual becomes everything. And what actually they forget about is just being themselves, um, and being in awareness. They forget about meditation. They forget that meditation is all about connecting yourself to yourself. That that's the whole point. It doesn't matter what religion you may follow, what practice you may do, what guru you have. None of those things matter. When it comes to meditation, it's about you connecting to you. Um, yeah, priests do take advantage of common people since day one. I agree. I agree. So these comments that I'm seeing are on TikTok. So those that are on YouTube, or who will watch this afterwards, you will see that this is actually being I'm reading on TikTok too. So yeah, I do believe priests, well, godmen, or the middlemen between you and yourself, or if we want to use the word God, those people are always looking to take advantage of you. They don't want you to be independent. They would like you to be dependent because it suits them. It suits them for you to be independent. So for you to be dependent on them, for you to constantly go to them for any issues, or without discovering anything for yourself. They always are sometimes there is joy in going on in the journey and finding your own answer rather than just having someone else tell you the answer. Yes, say you're at a dead end with an issue in meditation or spirituality. Yes, go to someone. Very important to go to someone, but eventually, um, just you may have to do it yourself. You may have to find the answer for everything. You're up by yourself. Um, so yeah, thank you for the like. Whoever liked the video on YouTube, really appreciate that. Um, yeah, really appreciate that. So yeah, and do share this live stream with other people. I would greatly appreciate that, um, because it's tax-free money. So on TikTok, someone's mentioned that it's tax-free money, and yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. Um, and there's nothing wrong with it being tax-free. I don't have any issue with that. What I have an issue with is if we don't. It's not used to help people, and it's not used to um, allow people to find themselves. Like I said, dependency is not good in spirituality. If I remember a teacher once saying that if you're still with your guru 30 years down the line, meaning that the guru hasn't elevated you to be fully confident in your own self, you're going, it's not good. Again, thank you for the second like. You're welcome, amigo. Thank you, Martin. Thanks for the stream. Beautiful stuff. Thank you. And hello, Kishore from Nepal. Oh, nice. This is international. I feel good when it's international. Nice. So, so yes, it's important to have a teacher that will look to always to make you independent, to make you empowered, to find your own way. That is really important. Thank you for the third like. Oh wow, that's amazing. Um, yeah, so finding out the answer for yourself, finding out the answer to any predicament you have by yourself is always more fruitful and always much better. It's much easier, to be honest. I find that we have all the answers, we just don't trust ourselves, and that's sad when it comes to spirituality. I hope, let me know. Do you actually trust yourself in spirituality? Like with your own, the issues that you have in your spiritual journey, do you trust yourself? Um, Let me know. I like to know. And be honest. To be honest, I'll be honest with you. So at times, I don't trust myself. I don't trust what I know. So I will go to my iPad, which is basically holds so many scriptures in here. It's unbelievable. So I will go here and I will take a look, and I'll read something that will address the issues that I have. It will address any problems that I have. So I'll look for the solutions. Um, and what I will do is make sure I don't have any preconceived notions so I can just go straight to the answer. So, hey, Jas, my good friend from England. Nice to see you. Thank you for the fourth like. Um, so yeah, so go to this iPad or whatever you have an equivalent of, but those have the answers sometimes. And how you doing, Jas? I hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Um, so yes. Oh, the Arsenal fan. I think Takuji. Yeah, how are you? Takuji, you were talked about on one of Akil's lives on last week, at some point. So it's nice to see you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation soon. Spirituality is one of the most important parts of Buddhism, which is my religion. Beautiful, beautiful. Yes. So, Kishore, a question for you, and maybe you can answer this in the uh, chat. W- What separates the spirituality to the religion of Buddhism for you? Like, what? what separates it? What is the two different? How are they two different things? Um, I'd like to know. Are you part of Tibetan Buddhism? Happy to see you on this chat as well, bro. Um, well, Akhil said just or Sami Vada, as it is his name on TikTok. He was just saying how knowledgeable you are and how much knowledge you have of the scriptures, and he was just praising that. Completely true that one needs to trust oneself and pave the path by him or herself. I trust completely in the process. It's beautiful, not easy, but definitely worth it. Yeah, it isn't easy. And I actually did a video. Well, my podcast was about that this last week. Yeah, last week. And I did a clip about that. And it's never easy. The amount of hard work you have to do in spirituality is phenomenal. So trust yourself most of all, and it's really. I think the video I did today was talking about how arduous it is, how difficult it is, and the amount of work you have to do. Like people think that enlightenment happens instantly, but it doesn't. There's so much work that goes on before that, prior to that, that people ignore. They don't see that the tapasya, the so again, the tapasya is not just, austerity or doing spiritual practices. It's actually about the tapasya in its true essence is about making your life simple. And if you think about it, in today's day and age, living your life in a simple manner is so difficult. There's so much out there that is distracting us. And spirituality is all about simplifying your life. So I agree that when you are looking to gain strength in this journey, you have to look at making your life simple. It is difficult. It's like putting your hand in the fire and watching it burn. And just, I mean, do not do this. I don't mean it literally, um, but like I mean it metaphorically. But it's like that, and you can see that actually all your hand is actually just made up of atoms, and that's what empty space, and that's what the pasya does to your mind. To what it does, it burns duality so much to the point where there is only non-duality. And that's what happens when we utilize our intellect. Recently, I've been looking at how important our intellect is on the journey, and I'll go into that in a bit. I completely don't trust myself. I'm thankful and lucky, and luckily, great people like yourself have shown the way. I'm still, Jas G. That's very nice of you. I'm still on this journey. I don't really know. I don't really have a way. Um, I'm I'm a friend along the path like you. But I would say you should trust yourself. I understand why you don't trust yourself. It's very, and again, that's the work we have to do, right? Um, but remember, there is only the self. I think we talked briefly. I wish we had a longer conversation when I was in England, but we talked about the retreat that you went on, and you were and it was centered around Sri Ramana Maharishi's teachings, and I would say there that it's all about knowing that actually there is only the self, and so how can you not trust the self? Yeah. So I know there's an element of duality, but like I said, we have to put our hand in the fire. So we have to put this mind in the fire, figuratively, metaphorically, um, and allow that duality to just burn away, so there's only non-duality, where there's only the self, the immortal self. So that's what we have to lead to. um, um, so yeah. So Christians say spirituality is of the devil. I don't trust myself. uh, okay. Interesting. um, so mine is the Theravada Buddhism. Nice. We believe I know a bit about Theravada Buddhism, not too much, but I do know a little bit. One of my good friends from my early YouTube days, like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, was is big into that. And I think they're doing a book on this. I have to catch up with them on this, but really nice guy. He's in the West Coast. We believe that human life is suffering and that spirituality, meditation, physical labor, yes, that's seva, and good behavior are the ways to achieve enlightenment or nirvana. Nice. Can you explain what nirvana is for me? Um, I've been interested. I've been hearing different words for nirvana, so I just want to know what is the definition according to Theravada Buddhism. But interesting. So recently, this is not related to spirituality, but since I'm having a cup of tea, I had to go to the Indian store to get PG tips, um, which shows how British I still am when it comes to drinking tea. Um, so yeah, we and I've ever since I come back from England, I've been enjoying a cup of tea. Oh, so TikTok has asked me this question. You can share the best or worst experience you've had this week. Hmm. Well, the best experience can only be now when we're in this now. That's the best experience you can have, and that will keep on adapting in each week. And when we say, um, and what's the worst experience is when we are away from ourselves. That is the worst experience when we are away from our true self, when we are away from meditation, when we don't. When I say away from meditation, a lot of people think meditation is like something we have to sit down and do. But for me, meditation is everyday life. Right now, when I'm talking to you, is a meditation. I cannot deny that it is not a meditation. It is. I am talking about non duality. I'm talking about the self that automatically takes you to a place of meditation. So I don't know if I've had the worst experience this week according to TikTok. I should do, but I don't, and I don't think I've had a worse experience. Oh, you could say I wouldn't say it's the worst experience, but I had to travel to my office today. Um, I didn't like the traffic, but I was listening to a podcast, not my own, but someone else's, and so that was good. That was nice. So it wasn't really bad. It's just annoying to be in traffic, but it was nice. Um, I used to live in I used to live 10 years in Plymouth. Oh, nice. And 5 years in London. Oh, okay. And now 5 years Spain. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I do love London. The energy of London is amazing. Nirvana is a happy place like heaven. Nirvana is the highest state that someone can get, a state of enlightenment, meaning a person's soul or spirit desires. Oh, so okay. And suffering goes away. So the end of suffering is basically nirvana, and I would say the end of suffering in non-duality is getting rid of duality. So, and understanding that there is only the Atma, the or Brahman. So, I guess they're similar. Um, but when you say a happy place like heaven, it's not a physical location. I'm assuming it's more of an internal thing. Um, nice, nice. So, absolutely, I've been saying the same when people ask me, everything is meditation. The natural state is meditation. Yeah, it is. The natural state is meditation. A lot of people don't understand that, but it's true. The natural state is meditation. Being you is the meditation. In fact, I would say it's just living life. Um, yeah, it's just living life. Um, so I'm going to be utilizing these YouTube lives both as a meditation, one as a meditation, and second as a way to discuss things with you. The ego can be very subtle. Yes, yes, absolutely. See, okay, so there's two types of egos. There's the material ego, so everything related to the body and mind. So everything we see, perceive, we attach ourselves to, our desires. That's what I will call the material ego. Then there's the spiritual ego. And that, I agree, Jas, is very subtle because what we do, there is a subtle level of attachment to things, to people, yeah, to people. That can be like the sangha, the community, or it can be your teacher or a guide or teachers, depending on how many we have. So sometimes we may have this thing of my teacher's better than yours, or don't mess with my teacher. My teacher is enlightened, yours isn't. Like there's subtle games that are played like that. Um, then there's, but that one creeps up. Like even the one that says I'm enlightened, like even there is always an addition added to I am enlightened. Um, in fact, the real line that should be used is we are enlightened. So um we are enlightened because it's a shared thing. You realize it's not just you, like the individual that's enlightened, everyone is enlightened as a result of the apparent individual enlightenment. So it's really, yeah. But there's two levels of ego. Material ego is e- easier to get rid of, but still difficult. But yeah, the subtle one, that's a freaking mind game and a half. And and I will not lie to say that I have been tackling this subtle ego for a long, long time, and I still am trying to. I'm still trying to work on it. So yeah, it's not easy for sure. Not easy at all. It took me a long time to silence it. Not saying it hasn't gone, no. No, but I think even recognizing it is important. Like recognize where you are. But yeah, it does take time. Yeah. Silencing it. And what I like what you mentioned there, you said silence it, which means that you know it's still there. You know it still exists. You know it's still there in the background, but it no longer creates any noise. And you still need the ego to live in the world. Even to uphold a spiritual practice requires ego. Like, no matter what people say, you need like, even to say, I am going to meditate or I enjoy meditation, there is ego there. It doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. You know, what happens is the sage is able to utilize the ego to its advantage. That's the difference. Um, so, yeah. To those on TikTok, I'm on YouTube. So check my bio, my profile. You can go onto YouTube and I can chat to you there. Um, Martin, and then there is a neo advisor ego, the hardest one to crack open. You know what? Now you're right. I think prior to this, I thought there was only two types of ego. You have now corrected me, Martin. There is three. There is the neo advisor ego. And okay, so this is my thing. So the reason why I titled my video, my live, or my lives like this, is because I'm trying to I want to give people a realistic picture of non-duality. What they paint is completely weird, completely strange. I don't recognize their non-duality at all. Whenever someone says to me, "There's no one here," there is someone there. And if there isn't, why are you on this live? Why are you doing this YouTube stuff? Why are you doing meetings? Like, why? If there's no one here, there's no meeting. It's so annoying. But yeah, that ego. So before, I used to comment on people's comments. I used to reply back to comments on my Jim Newman video where I reacted to his interview. Um, and I stopped because people just don't get it. I know that I think Martin, you probably saw that was your first one where I think you got in touch with me. I remember your comment, I think, on there. But I think a lot of people, the drivel, and I'm sorry to say, the essays they used to write was it just entertained me more than like I think they wanted to irritate me, but they entertained me more. So yeah, it's very interesting. Um, Go on to my YouTube and you will see um, what it's about. It's about non-duality, um, to plus entropy. Silence now. I like your name. How do you think the self forgot itself to seek itself? Ah, interesting question. Interesting. Um, does this? Um, okay, I want to pin this. Oh, I like this question. Um, just want to pin it for now so I can see it. How do you think the self forgot itself to seek itself? See, did the self ever forget itself is a question, right? That's that's the biggest question. Now, in my opinion, the self never forgets. What what happens is there's a veil of understanding that obscures the self, and that can be our ego. So that can be our false identities. So um, we start thinking we are the name and form, and that causes the confusion. So it's not like the self forgets itself, um, or that even that the self needs to seek itself. There is just the appearance of seeking. But yes, but because we believe we are the name and form, it's like basically we have to work backward. We're not going to the self, we're going back to the self. That's what's happening. And I wish, and so the self, the immortal self, Brahman, or the formless, never forgets itself. It can never. But when we believe we are the form, we forget our formless state. We forget how everything else is formless. We start seeing everything else as name and form. Not saying that name and form it has a part to play in our day-to-day life, very important, but we have to move on. Um, we we have to understand that this name and form isn't everything. So, um, but yeah, I just think it's because society also kind of tells you that you are this, you are that, you are this person, you are this age, you're meant to do this, you're meant to do that. If you do not do this, then this will happen. If you don't do that, that will happen. So it's for me, um, society has a massive impact. And because you believe society and you take on the name and form and all the rest of it, you lose the natural state. You lose what you naturally are. I think Jazz says when we are a baby, we are completely connected. I agree. And when we grow up in the world, we have to create the self for survival. Yeah, I agree with that. Um, yeah, so I do agree that we do create the self. So the ego is necessary, like I said, but you know, It's about understanding that the ego isn't what you are, but you are the self. That's the only thing. But the short answer to your question is, I don't think the self ever forgets itself. If it did, then it would not be the self, frankly speaking. Um, So Martin, neo-Advaita YouTubers love to charge hundreds for Zoom meetings and online seminars. Very true. Just so that people get completely frustrated listening that there is only this, that they don't exist. um, yeah, you know what? There's a lot of them out there today. I've been seeing quite a few videos pop up. Video watcher mob, you're lucky that you've not seen them. I follow a few, I subscribe to a few to see what they talk about. And half of their chats are, or half their lives, um, they are, I feel there's a certain emptiness. And and that's what happens with Neo Advaita actually, because it sucks the meaning out of non-duality, I feel. When we say that there is no self or there's nobody there, it takes the beauty out of that oneness that we experience. And yeah, so so I find that it's Neo Advaita is the worst thing to come across if you're beginning on the journey. And if that's your introduction to non-duality, then God bless you, man. God bless you. I know so many people that have a few people, not so many, but a few that have, because they're so much in love with this Neo Advaita, they then, as you mentioned, they get completely frustrated and they end up thinking non-duality is bad. They've hijacked the word non-duality. We need to call them neo non-duality. Actually, they should not. They don't deserve this word non-duality. We're gonna take back the word non-duality. I'm inspired. I'm gonna yeah, I'm gonna call them neo non-duality now. That's what they deserve to be called. Because why should they be called non? Why should they be able to call themselves non-dual teachers? They're not. Non-duality is not what they prescribe, um, and there's a reason why. In Advaita, why we continue to utilize the word Advaita is because it's a tradition that is literally foolproof, and nowhere has Adi Shankaraji or any of, not even Gaudapada, his guru's guru, ever got to the point of saying, "There's nobody here to realize anything." They didn't even do that. It's just so weird. Um, knock knock, who's there? No one. Literally, there is no knock. Actually, there's no. That's what they will say. There's no knocking happening. I saw one. Ah, there's one. Ah, it says they use something like there's no silent sounding or something like that, or no sound silencing. There's something weird that they have the weirdest phrases. It's unbelievable. Weirdest. Oh, I've got to find it. When I find it, I'm going to share in my next I'm going to share in my next live. But yeah, there was something like that. There's no sounding. No, no, we're not doing that. Um, we're not doing that. Grateful I stumbled on you. Thank you, video watcher mob. I'm glad that you're interacting with me. Thank you. God bless you if you're picking a going to Neo Advisor. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is a question for us on this live. Um, is Muji Neo Advaita? Because a lot of people accuse him of being Neo Advaita, but I'm not sure, uh, and I don't know whether talking about him is a bit controversial either because of some of the stuff that's been discovered about him. But if we ignore that and put it to the side and just look at the teachings that he gives, is he Neo Advaita? Um, and that's yeah. That I want to because I know people say about Rupert Spira, but he's definitely not Neo Advaita. I've attended his talks. He's pretty much on the traditional path, even though um, he uses very simple terms to explain things, but he's very much on the traditional path. And he has a lineage of some sort. But with um, the likes of Tony Parsons or Jim Newman, um, I don't. They definitely do not follow any tradition. But yeah, they love that kind of language. Yeah, there's gonna be more. I'm gonna find those lines that they use and talk about them. Hi Sid, hi Sammy. So yeah, I'm live on YouTube. Come up on YouTube if you're on TikTok and watching this. Um, so yeah, what is your view? Whether because the reason why I mentioned Muji, and we can even speak about Papaji too, his guru, whether they're Neo Advaita. Because I've seen comments, and I don't know, but I've never heard Muji utilize any Neo Advaita terms. In fact, I think he's got annoyed by them more. But yeah, but it's interesting. Um, Let me just type something. Um, so yeah, interesting stuff. But this is the whole point of spirituality is you've gotta see where they are potholes in the philosophy or potholes in the teaching, and is the teaching taking you on a roundabout? And that's what you gotta look at. If you don't take an exit, or there is no exit while you're going in this roundabout, then this is a problem with Neo Advaita, is that you're constantly going round and round the roundabout, and you're not taking an exit. You're not able to go further because you have to keep going back to, well, there's nobody here. Okay, so I'm going to keep going round. There's no one here to experience anything. Okay, there's no one here that is enlightened. There's just an enlightening happen. Like that is just going round and round and roundabout. But with Advaita, there is a proper method. Even if you go round the roundabout, very rare would you find that you're more or less going to be at a crossroad with traditional Advaita, but but with traditional Advaita, yeah, you'll be at a crossroads. You get to choose um, which path to go on. What would be the best way for you to go forward? Um, is the path of meditation good for you, or is the path of studying the scriptures good for you, or is it the path of both? Like you have to utilize both of these things. Um, so yeah, that's for me the difference between traditional Advaita and um, Neo Advaita. Neo Advaita would say there's no scripture, But you see, the moment you do this, you get rid of the history, the powerful um, tradition that supported these type of teachings, and these teachings are there to point you to the self. They don't say that you will go to the self. They just point it back to you and say, well, this is who you are. When we hear the words Tattvam Asi, you are that. It's it's there to point you back to yourself, because nobody can escape the human life that we're living. Nobody can, for example, if I say to you that you are the self, yes, it's real on a deep level, on a high level, but on the transactional level, you still you still are Rahul or Martin or Jas or whoever else is on. You're still that person. So what we have to understand, and this is how I explain it, is that the self is always there. The immortal self, that formless awareness is always there, but it's there in the background in when we have to utilize our name and form. Like right now, I have to utilize my name and form while I'm doing this YouTube live or TikTok live. That's necessary. So I have to use this. Yeah. That's at the forefront. But when I meditate or when I sit down and focus and I am sitting in meditation and I'm focusing on the self, that's when I can bring the self at the forefront and put the name and form in the background. The name and form doesn't go, and it shouldn't go. We should not allow it to dissolve away, because it cannot just dissolve away for anyone. It's always there in the background. And that's the only difference. Now, the sage can do both whenever it wants. That's the difference between an enlightened person and an unenlightened person, is that the enlightened person can bring Brahman at the forefront whenever they want. Someone like me, I have to put effort into this. Yeah, I have to put effort into, even though it's the easiest thing to do, but there's still effort required to bring that formless awareness to the forefront. But a sage doesn't have to think about it. Right now, they will understand that the formless awareness is all pervading. It's inescapable. You cannot escape it. You cannot run away from it. You cannot turn away from it. It's there always. And that's the difference. And but they have cultivated so many years of learning, implementing, failing, succeeding, two things going on. All that is happening. And that's when they get to their truths. That's and then eventually they become enlightened, or they realize they are enlightened. Can the enlightened person be aware in sleep, in deep sleep? Yes, I'm only going by what is said in the scriptures. That yes, um, I don't know, but people like Osho have talked about it, and I believe them. Ramana Maharishi has talked about it, about being aware in deep sleep. So I believe them. Um, they're they're the ones um, that are the closest. And I think, if I'm not wrong, I've even heard Rupert Spira talk about it. So um, now I believe these people. They seem to be like they have no they have no reason to lie. Especially Ramana, he had no reason to lie. Neither does Rupert, because from what I know, he really does not like to have an image. And you can even ask, if you have a guru silence now, you can ask them, and they'll probably say the same answer, that you can be aware when you're asleep. Um, because if you think about it, in deep sleep, awareness is still there to say that you have had a good night's rest. Now, um, for example, when you're dreaming, yeah, and you can be aware even in your dreams. That's called, yeah. The lucid dreaming is when you're aware, um, as you're dreaming, that there is a self and there is a watcher going on. But even in deep sleep, there is a watching. And Osho shared a way to get to that point was he said that you have to keep. So when you go to sleep tonight, just watch your mind as it falls asleep. And eventually you will become aware of your sleeping, he said. This was what he claimed. And he didn't say like it happened on the first night and that you suddenly become aware. Um, he says it takes time and practice. So, um, but the awareness is there because when you do wake up from a good night's rest and you know you've had a good amount of deep sleep, because that's where you get rejuvenated, you always say, I had a really good night's rest. So, yeah, Inception. And um, uh, thinking about Inception, about awareness, even in dreams, in Yog Vashisht, it talks about this very thing about, uh, it's crazy. That text is mind blowing, like literally mind blowing. And I think that's where they got inspired by with Inception, because in Yog Vashisht, uh, Vashishti, who is Lord Ram's guru, he turns around and says, "There is only there's you can there's like he talks about dreams within dreams or realities within reality. Like he talks about how we can create our own reality within reality, and I think that's the whole thing. Was well, then what becomes real? It's phenomenal. That text is it's good. I have a good like summary version. Um, no, I don't chant Maha Mantra at all. I'm not. I'm not a Hare Krishna. I know what you mean by the Maha Mantra. I think Hare Krishna one. Yeah, I know. I'm far away from that. I mean, yeah, if I hear it, I chant with it. But yeah, is Shiva the devil? They are similar. No, man. What the hell? Mm, um, okay. So yeah, it's yeah. So the self is always there. The self is always aware of deep sleep. Awareness is always there. Awareness doesn't disappear because of what goes on in the body. This may be a bit tough to say, but even after death, awareness is still there. We, hmm, we'd be entering speculation if I went any further. Hmm. Um, I wonder if I could see. I talk a lot about liberation in my um yeah see you can even um yeah, the last one, then you can block. Um, see, liberation doesn't really exist. Like it's a tough thing to say. Tough thing to even talk about, but um, there's no such thing as liberation. There's no mukti, no moksha. It doesn't exist because awareness is always free. So who is it that is becoming liberated? Who is it that is becoming free? When you understand that you are this formless awareness, there is no need for liberation. So then the question becomes, well, what about the body and mind? Well, that will continue. It's interesting because I think in the podcast episode that I'm releasing um, this week, it talks about how, for the sake of righteousness, even liberated people can come back. And I was thinking, well, how can that be possible? I don't really explain this in my podcast. I don't go deep into it, but um, the reason for that is our body, in terms of matter, it continues. So it will continue to manifest in other things. It will, um, the atoms will become part of nature and that will continue. And then when it comes to our memories, our tendencies, our habits, our conditioning, our all of those things that creates us, that also will become that will continue on. And I think that continues on or is there, it remains in this consciousness, this collective consciousness for the time when, because that can only that for me that's the only explanation for someone like Lord Krishna to say he returns back. Not saying Krishna will return back as Krishna. I'm not saying that, but that type of the avatar will always reappear because it's still there in the collective consciousness, waiting. I think the I know the Hindi, the Sanskrit word, which is pralaya, which is it's like this middle area. Um, I forgot the English word for it, but it's like this state that exists. But yeah, but what I'm trying to say is there's no liberation because you are always formless awareness, and everything still continues. And for the sage, they are comfortable with this truth. I think more so, they know that their memories and stuff that may be stored somewhere just for the sake of coming back onto the earth if there is unrighteousness at a great level, which I think right now we're getting there. So for the people that become enlightened in this life, you may have to come back again. So don't think you're completely free, because we're going through a crazy time in society, So it's open. Um, yeah, it's more like removing the veil, aka liberation. But it's true that words are just pointers and cannot be confused with what they're pointing to. Absolutely. Um, so, yeah, Jas, I'll do like a 10-minute liberation meditation. Um, we can just sit silently maybe for 10 minutes. But before I do start that, a few things, and then I'll end the live with after the meditation. Um, but yeah, I do a free Zoom meditation class every Saturday. Um, I think it's 11 o'clock here in America on the East Coast. On the West Coast, it's at 8 a.m. And then in England, I think it's around 4 o'clock. Yeah, 4 p.m. And in India, it's 8:30 p.m. So, yeah, liberation is meditation. Very true. So do that. It's free. the details are I've got a WhatsApp group, and it's in my link tree. Yeah, and the Zoom link is on my Patreon page, and also on Patreon, I am doing conversations with the bearded mystic. It's like um, conversations with people that I know on TikTok, on YouTube, and just having a conversation with them. Those conversations are on a paywall, so you do have to pay $10 a month to get access to them. The first one will be coming out this maybe next week, maybe next week, and it's with Yam Socks from TikTok, um, who is incredible. So do check. So if you want to listen to the full convo, that will be on uh, my Patreon page, and I will be posting like a 15 to 30-minute clip of each conversation. Um, and that would be on my podcast and YouTube. So, again, the full conversation will be on there. And that will be to support me as a content creator. Um, yes, so we'll we'll go to meditation now. And then I will I see someone. So yeah, I will go to meditation. We'll, close your eyes, keep your breathing natural. Don't you have to do a deep inhale or deep exhale. But if it calms you down, go ahead and do that. But you can breathe naturally as much as possible. Because remember, we want to integrate meditation into your life rather than something that is done only for 30 minutes or 10 minutes in a day, but something that continues, that you feel the fragrance of meditation continue as you go about in your day, as you fall asleep, as you cook food, as you clean your house, as you talk to other people, as you drive your car, as you take a walk outside. This meditation should continue. The fragrance should always be there. So, as you're breathing, watch what is breathing. Watch the breathing happen. Become the witness to the breath that is taken in and out. Observe it. And if you get distracted by a thought, by a sound you may hear outside, bring your awareness back to the breath, the breathing. Now, observe that regardless of how you breathe, awareness remains unchanged. It doesn't get affected by the way you're breathing. The watching remains unperturbed, unmoved by the breathing. In fact, as you look at this watcher, this witness, you feel that actually this has been with you the whole day. As you go about your day, this awareness, this watcher, this witness remains ever present, yet does not interfere. Like right now, awareness is just being. And is not interfering. This awareness in nature, meaning its natural state, is both timeless and beyond space, beyond dimension, beyond form, beyond color, beyond shape. This awareness that you are is boundless, limitless. It's soundless. This is who you are always. So whenever we get pulled by our senses, we can always go back to this awareness to become centered again. So right now, if you feel that your senses are is diverting your attention away from awareness, remember that awareness is also aware of that distraction. Therefore, you cannot escape this awareness even in those times. So just rest as this awareness for the next few moments. Just be this formless awareness. Just be this boundless awareness, this soundless awareness, this limitless awareness, this colorless awareness. Wherever you go, even within your own mind, it is present because it is ever present. It is everywhere. So rest in this awareness and understand that this is who you are and that this awareness is not only for you, but it's shared with everything and everyone. So feel not only its vastness, but understand that its vastness can never be contained. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and get comfortable. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I will do. I will do more of these going forward. My main focus is going to be YouTube, um, but I'll be on um, TikTok simultaneously. But this is where I've been reading most of the comments from and focusing my attention on. And we'll do guided meditations. Um, or sometimes we may just sit in silence, to see how things go. It's just going to be very natural. We may read from scriptures for a bit and expand upon them. They're going to be really impromptu. Um, I will try to give you warnings in advance, but um, but sometimes these type of events, these type of lives, are pretty nice too. Thank you, Jess, for joining. Thank you. Thank you to everyone. And we'll see you on the next one. Probably next week sometime. But before that, do check out my Patreon page. Do check out, you can see everything on www.thebeardedmysticpodcast.com. Everything is on there. Um, and yeah, if you like what you've learned from this podcast and like what you learn from these lives, supporting me is really appreciated. So yeah, but yeah, other than that, keep it real. Rest in this formless. Remember that you're always this formless awareness, and enjoy it to the max. This is what it's all about. So yeah, yeah. Take care. Bye.